Let's talk Marathon. So we've got this GameSpot article here, which actually makes a very good point just in its title alone. Bungie's Marathon is a polished extraction shooter, but that might not be enough. Because there's going to be a bunch of different elements we're going to be talking about regarding the announcement and showing of Marathon, because they've actually shown off a decent amount of gameplay. They have been talking also about price and things like that. And so I'm going to be covering all of these things. None of which is going to be in this GameSpot article, just because I wanted something to be like the backdrop to the introduction. But basically, let's actually jump into the pricing. That's going to be the first thing. So, Marathon is a premium game on PS5, but it's not a $70 game. So, Warrior64 had tweeted Marathon is going to launch as a premium product, meaning players will be asked to pay full price. Marathon will have a battle pass, 3 maps, 4th map arriving shortly after launch, which then the Marathon game replied with, Marathon will be a premium title, Marathon will not be a full price title. We'll announce details this summer. So basically, Marathon is going to be priced and is not going to be free to play. Basically, that's the very core of the discussion at the moment, because as we all know, games that are similar to Marathon, whether you've got extraction shooters, whether you've got hero shooters, if you're going to be paying money for some of this stuff, you need to really bring the goods. But the problem is that I don't think Marathon is going to be bringing the goods, nor do I think it's going to be bringing in enough of an audience to be able to actually provide what is to like its audience. Because keeping in mind that PlayStation has had this thing in the past where rather than releasing their multiplayer titles as a free-to-play title, they would be pricing them at $40 US, specifically Helldivers 2, which did exceptionally well, and Concord, which absolutely miserably failed and was then unreleased 2 weeks after launch. So with all of that being said, I think it's probably fair to assume that Marathon may very well cost $40, but the problem then kind of falls into the idea that, well, if it's not free to play, and you need to pay for it in order to get in, why on earth would you play Marathon over any other title, like, say, for example, I don't know, Tarkov? Yeah, Tarkov has a lot of cheaters and stuff like that, and there's a way of being able to exploit, there's an exploit to be able to play offline and things like that, like solo if you wanted to. Not solo, but like, you don't have to go through like the god-awful matchmaking, basically. And the fact that Marathon is actually not, it has no single-player campaign, is a purely multiplayer title. Because keeping in mind that Marathon used to be, when it originally released back in 1994, a single-player shooter akin to games like Doom and Quake. Now, keeping in mind that Marathon is coming out on PS5, but it's also coming out on Xbox Series S and X, which then leads into this Game Rant article saying Marathon has bad news for Nintendo fans, which is to say, at the moment, there is no announcement for this game to come to Switch. It's only going to be on PlayStation, Xbox, and I'm pretty sure PC should be on the list as well. I don't see why it wouldn't also... Oh, no, actually, it is on PC, because I did see the Marathon page on Steam, so that page does exist, so it's coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox Series S and X, so that's all well and good. Yeah, the pricing stuff really just doesn't gel particularly well. Now, there are a couple of other bits and pieces regarding Marathon to talk about, which is not having proximity chat, where the quote says, I don't think anyone has a good solution to that just yet, saying that it would be too toxic. So, I mean, to be completely honest, when it comes to proximity chat, I don't play a lot of multiplayer games, so I don't think I would be able to comment on that too much, if anything at all. So I don't know if that would be particularly important to have. Ideally, I think it would be, only because it's of, a team v team extraction shooter, so there's that element to it. But yeah, and otherwise, basically Bungie is saying that Marathon is not trying to replace Destiny 2, because keeping in mind when we're talking about Destiny, that Destiny's Light and Dark saga has officially concluded with the final shape. Now they're just recycling some seasonal content here and there in order to try and keep the game afloat. I don't know if they're going to be trying to do a Destiny 3 or another expansion or whatever the hell that looks like for Destiny 2, because keeping in mind that game dropped back in like what, 2017, and so now Marathon is basically just kind of another, you know, Bungie game that's out in the wild alongside Destiny 2, just kind of being played in perpetuity. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bungie is able to balance two games at the same time, and I feel like maybe there's a potential that, like, you know, Destiny 2 could get shut down in the not too distant future. Again, that is not something that we would really be able to know until, you know, the time comes for it to be announced, but we'll have to kind of wait and see how that goes. The last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, alongside just all of this sort of hodgepodge of Marathon news that's just been kind of spat out all over the place, is actually the gameplay reveal. Because man, do I have a lot to say about the gameplay reveal. So I actually have the YouTube video up, and I'm not actually going to be playing any of the audio in the video, just because not because of copyright, but because there's going to be a lot that I'm going to want to talk about, and also the music just does not add anything. In fact, it detracts from the actual gameplay vibe and the whole sci-fi aesthetic. I'm just not a fan of the music choices at all here. So let's actually have a look at this gameplay reveal trailer. So basically a very sort of sci-fi aesthetic. We've got, you know, of course, first person shooting, and also just shooting from the sides, and then we can see here a shield or something like that here, or a possible place to you know, duck in and hide. These guys are shooting, obviously. I don't know if it's the sky or if there's some sort of shield or whatever have you. I don't know if this thing is being protected, but again, I haven't really played any extraction shooters and don't really understand the craze. But that being said, I can never truly understand the concept of playing an online only game that requires multiplayer, because funnily enough, games exist to be fun. But the problem is that when you're making something that is very multiplayer centric, the idea is to gather up your friends together and have some fun. But the problem is, anything that you do with your friends is going to be fun, because you enjoy hanging out with your friends. Which makes, like, say for example, if you and your friends were just eating nothing but asbestos and, you know, suffering from like toxic poisoning, that would actually be fun with friends. Why? Because you enjoy being with your friends, not because of the asbestos poisoning, which is a bit of an extreme example, but to basically give the idea that if a game cannot be fun by itself and is only fun with other people, it kind of fails at being a good thing. It fails at being a good game. It fails at being a fun game. It just fails as a game, as the very concept of what it is trying to be. Also, it's worth noting that the like to dislike ratio on the Marathon trailer is 19k up likes and 17k dislikes. This can be somewhat, how would I say this, inaccurate, but it's worth just kind of keeping that in mind. I'm sure the ratios are not that far off, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, as we kind of go through this trailer, we see abilities being used, we're seeing guns being fired, we get the Bungie logo, we see from the careers of Halo and Destiny. I feel like that's just too grand of a pedigree to give Marathon, if I'm being completely honest. Even if they are from the same from the same studio, but from the same developers, there's something up there. But yeah, we see a bunch of people running, gunning. We see different types of locations. It looks like there's some sci-fi buildings, but also we see some lush greenery, at least to some extent. People are running, because apparently the player characters are called runners, apparently. There's that element to it as well. We see more people running. Again, there isn't actually a lot to talk about, because the thing is that the gameplay trailer looks very samey to that of what you would expect to see in most first-person shooters that you see. And I don't actually see any particularly distinct factors that makes me want to look at this game and think, man, I want to play it. Because even disregarding the fact that it's an online-only extraction shooter, the vibe and aesthetic, I feel like they're going too far into what Zoomers are into, it feels like. Gunning people down, sure, is what it is. I mean, you know, it just happens a lot. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this is taking the name of a game that existed well over, 30 years ago, and turning it into a multiplayer-only game that just doesn't... It doesn't inspire confidence. And they're, you know, the developers, Bungie, are just kind of coming out with like, oh, you know, we've got these sorts of plans, here's the maps, here's our stuff that we're going to be doing. But the problem is that you're currently trying to sell unfulfilled promises until it does get fulfilled. And the thing is that, what's not to say that we won't see a Concord-like situation? No matter how much gameplay they show, the premise, at least to me personally, is just completely flawed and a failure in my opinion. But yeah, so they've got this phrase here, escape will make me, and now they're swapping words between daring, God, what else? But yeah, so escape will make me, let's go through some of the words here. Unstoppable, elite, bulletproof, daring, ferocious, God. Yeah, there's a few things here and there. Yeah, I think they're trying to be a far more social title rather than a single-player first-person shooter, which is what I would have preferred to see, because I feel like Sony needs more first-person shooters in their wheelhouse. But making it a multiplayer game is just not what I would have ever wanted. Again, I like my single-player first-person shooters, you know. Sure, Doom has multiplayer elements to it, but primarily the campaign exists as a single-player element that has largely been part of the game since the very beginning of the franchise. So I feel like Marathon is just really being gutted, but it says wishlist now on all platforms. And we, of course, get the release date, the 23rd of September 2025. Join the Discord to sign up for the closed alpha test. I don't know, man. This game does not look good. It doesn't look entertaining. It doesn't look fun. And I honestly can't say that I'm looking forward to it. Sure, I might be bashing a game that might not even necessarily be for me, but it still doesn't change the fact that we're sitting here right now talking about it, and it looks like a decent amount of the internet doesn't even have anything positive to say about the game. Like, if we go through the actual comments of the YouTube video, let's actually have a quick look. Man, Bungie loves using clips of a character shooting briefly at one target, swapping to a sniper, and then nailing a headshot. Sure. Which indie dev team made this early access game? That's funny. Would have been cool if bodies stayed bleeding out like the teaser years ago showed, instead of turning into pixels and leaving a duffel bag. Bungie never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. So someone could have really used a bit of grammar in their sentence, but sure. This is the first time in my life I saw a game trailer look like a YouTube ad that I would skip while eating dinner. Am I tripping, or was that trailer cut kind of weird? Like, too jumpy, trying to make it look exciting. Who's here for some $100 million losses? Crowd goes wild. At this moment, Bungie has not accepted the announced the price, but it is not free to play. It will have seasonal paid battle passes and an in-game cash shop. I think this comment by Jeremy G just really, I think, sets it apart more than anything else. Godspeed to you, lad. You've really made a good comment if I've ever seen one. So yeah. Those weren't even randomly picked. They were just like the top 5 or 7 comments that I could see. So I'm kind of interested to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments below. So please like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year. And the fact that you've made it to the end of the video shows that that is really just, you know, the best thing that you can do to help support the channel. But with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.